Peter Buswell, drvoigt.com. The subject of this video, project management. Deploying Shorel, deploying any voice over IP solution is going to require some effort and some control in the form of a project management and plan. There's a whole variety of project management strategies in the textbooks. Every one of you who are involved in the professional service field has encountered some form of project management tools, philosophies, software. What you will find is generally they have several components that are common in all of these strategies, and there's a reason for that. The need to plan, the need to communicate the plan, the need to get team buy-in, to manage the risk, to implement the requirements as defined in the design, to go through a system test and acceptance phase, follow it up with an ongoing support and optimization plan. These things don't happen by accident. It requires project management. I figure there are about 6 areas of project management I like to think about: the initiation of the project, the discovery phase, the implementation phase. There's a training phase. Some people like to put that in the implementation phase. That's fine with me, just as long as it's identified as a clear part of the implementation. There's a post-implementation support and the ongoing optimization of the solution through an ongoing health check. So these are 6 areas that I like to follow in my discussions about project management. Typically post-sale, and post-sale, nothing happens until somebody sells something. So those of us in professional services know that until the sales guys do their thing, we don't get to work. But after they do successfully conclude the initiation of an engagement, first step, set a post-sale kickoff meeting. This is where you're going to establish expectations and guidelines for how we're going to work through the project on both sides of the table, sometimes 4 or 5 sides of the table. But we're going to set the project goals and objectives, talk about roles and responsibilities, put a stake in the ground for a target go live. That might be a moving target, but it's been my experience, if you don't get something on the calendar, it doesn't happen. Calendar date tends to get people focused and resources committed. We need to define a communications plan. How are we going to communicate, and what are the rules of communication? What are the key factors for success in this project? What are the dependencies? And ultimately, when we leave the room, hopefully we're all on the same page and everybody leaves with their homework, assignments, and their due dates. Deploying Shorel, I find that there's a discovery phase, a big upfront discovery phase. In fact, there's an old carpenter's adage that says, measure twice, cut once, and how true it is. The more upfront planning we do, the more likely we're going to have a very successful go live. And it's been my experience that there are just such a wide variety of people that are going to participate in this project plan that we need to identify them up front. I also like to identify whether we're talking about a greenfield deployment or an in-place replacement. Greenfield deployments have a characteristic that is a bit different than replacing an existing system. And it's very important that we discover up front which path we're going down. I've also come to find in the discovery phase, where we're collecting data about the system that we're about to implement, that it's absolutely essential that we get a commitment from the user group. There should be a member of the user group that can speak for the user community and they should have a seat at the table for project planning and implementation discussions. This is typically the group of people that are most capable of talking about things like automated attendant and hunt groups and work groups and what the experience is that a caller might have when they call your place of business, how that call flows through the organization, how it's going to be handled after hours, et cetera. They're the ones that know more about things like, where's the postage machine, and or do we have credit card and alarms and faxes, and you'd be surprised how many IT managers really didn't even know we had a credit card or a postage machine. So it's been my experience that invariably you'll get the bits and bytes and speeds and feeds identified, and the technical pieces will tend to come together more quickly and with less problem than any other phase of the implementation. Where we can all do a better job is always in the area of call flow and user group concerns. So let's get these people identified and make them part of the discovery phase. Clearly, the IT team in the client organization, the people that are going to consume the Shorel system after it's deployed, they need to be involved. There's so much going on with respect to how the voice over IP technology touches these different domains of influence in the IT organization. You can start right there. Are we going to have an Active Directory implementation? You're going to mess with someone's Active Directory in the corporate domain. You're going to require a lot of interactive discussion with the IT team. How about the networking piece? The LAN, WAN connectivity, the build out of the VLANs, the IP map. So many services. The voice over IP project consumes IT services, simple things like time services and mail services, DHCP, the ability to remote into sites. The whole area of desktop support. Telephone systems have become more than just a phone set on someone's desk. More times than not, they're a piece of software on someone's computer, and lately it seems to be more on people's iPhones and Crackberries and things like that. Let's talk about the carrier. There's going to be an outside internet service provider or dial tone provider that is a carrier, and they will be involved in the project, whether you're migrating from an existing carrier to a new one, whether you're adding a new MPLS circuit to the mix. You're going to need the time and attention of key members of the outside organization that represents the carrier. We've got to get with these people, set up our QoS, revise our VLANs on the LAN side of any MPLS deployments. Typically, we may be involved in setting up new circuits, porting numbers from one carrier to another, dealing with toll, DNS, analog lines, the billing telephone number. One of my favorite hotspots is the fact that if I'm moving from one carrier to the other, and I don't make note of the fact that I want to keep my fax lines with the current carrier, moving the billing telephone number. If I don't make arrangements to move those faxes to another billing telephone number, I may lose them in the porting process. So there's a lot of attention to detail that needs to happen at the carrier level. Are we going to be integrating with other applications, typically some form of CRM application, Salesforce.com, Microsoft CRM, whatever? We'll need some resources from that side of the table, and they will be actively involved in the implementation. Generally, you got to identify who's responsible for facilities. If you're in an environment in which you have a large company that has a facilities management or property management company, you're going to need to get with that group and figure out, are there insurance requirements that have to be met, access requirements, alarms that have to be dealt with. It sounds ridiculous, but I've yet to see a contract in which someone address the issue of garbage removal. I guess we show up with all of these boxes that had the telephone sets in it. We unbox them, and what do we do with the boxes? So put garbage removal on your list of things to be concerned about. We're going to develop and discover the test and go live plan and the post-cut support. What happens, just after we take this puppy live? How are we going to support the users during that follow-on period? During the kickoff meeting and the discovery phase, you will have identified the key stakeholders in this project. And you must have an executive project sponsor, someone on the client executive team with oversight, who has a partnership vision and accountability. Generally, I always make sure that the sales person who was involved in the sale of the solution, the account manager, I like to call them, that they stay actively involved. Now, clearly, they're off selling the next new thing, but they have a responsibility to maintain relationship with the client. They should actually be the ones that call the kickoff meeting and introduce the new phase, that of the project manager. During the discovery, we hopefully have identified implementation team members. There's quite a list. And we've discussed something about the training services. And lastly, any support plans for Go Live. There's going to come a time when all the data collection has happened and we're actually in the process of implementing the solution. Now, with this technology, it occurs to me that so much of the deployment can actually be accomplished before you unbox the first phone. In a world of virtual servers and databases, it's very likely that